Hey mama, welcome to the One Income Family podcast. Have rising prices put you in survival mode? Do you find yourself stressed whenever you look at your finances? Are you ready to put money back into your budget so that you can relax? That is exactly what I have in store for you today. I am going to share with you 3 ways you can use your budget to get out of survival mode. Your budget is a great tool to use if you know what steps to take. So go cuddle up with a nice warm drink, get comfy with them babies, and open your heart to God as we head into today's episode. Do you find it hard to save or get out of debt? Are you constantly searching for ways to save money and live on a budget? Do you have big dreams only to be stopped by not sticking to your budget? Are you ready for financial freedom? Then you, mama, are in the right place. Welcome to the One Income Family podcast, where you will learn what it looks like to budget on one income, how to partner with God in your finances, how to budget in a way that's easy to stick to, and how to cut costs and save money, all so that you can start building wealth. It is my mission to equip you with these tools so that you can live in abundance regardless of the amount in your account. Hey, I'm Molly, a budget coach for stay-at-home moms, and I know what it's like to struggle on one income. I've lived paycheck to paycheck, relied on being frugal, and failed many budgets until I learned how to budget without tracking. This has allowed my family to pay off debt and build wealth all on one income. So, if you are ready for financial freedom, then go grab that stroller, plug in those headphones, and let's get to it. If you are ready to stop living paycheck to paycheck, then I want you to listen in as I walk you through a budget audit and what it can do for you. A budget audit, simply put, is a way for you to fix your finances. You'll learn what's going on in your budget, why you are living paycheck to paycheck, why you are struggling to stick to your budget, where your money is all going, and you will walk away knowing what steps you need to take to fix your finances. These steps will allow you to be able to do more than just pay your necessities. You will stop living paycheck to paycheck and find yourself saving money, getting out of debt, going on vacation, and even have, a little bit of wiggle room that we're always looking for, right? So hit pause right now and send an email to mollybennell@gmail.com letting me know that you would like to book a budget audit so that we can get you booked today. Again, that's mollybennell@gmail.com. So that's MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL @gmail.com. Alrighty. Survival mode. Nobody likes being there, right? But sometimes you don't know if you're there. And so I want to share with you, exactly what financial survival mode is, because sometimes that you can just be like, what exactly are you talking about here? I can understand survival mode when, you're dealing with life, but what does that mean in your finances? So I'm going to explain this by using my story in relation to financial survival mode. So when my husband and I first decided to become a one-income family, we were living on, let's say, maybe $40,000 a year, I think is what it was. So we couldn't exactly go straight from all the debt that we had into living on one income with only $40,000 a year. And the Lord, He did miracles, and He allowed me to get rid of a debt that was really big, and it was stopping us from becoming a one-income family, which I have an episode on that if you'd like to hear the story. But to keep it short, we were able to become a one-income family with only $40,000 as a yearly income. And it was okay. But what I did, because I so desperately wanted to become a one-income family, was I only set up my budget to be able to pay for bills, to be able to pay for groceries and gas and what we needed exactly to the T. There was no wiggle room. There was you had to be perfect. There was no choice to, overspend in one area, which was really hard because my husband likes his food. He likes to go out to eat a lot. And so it was okay because we were able to live simply because we lived in a small town and we got everything we needed where we lived. But if we had to like go places, if we were going to see family, if we were going to do fun things, that's where things got tight and hard because it wasn't in the budget. So we were trying to figure out where this money was coming from. Now he did get overtime a lot in this job, which like gave that little bit of wiggle room. But it was so small that it was like, oh, we have $50. Where are we going to spend it today? Or, oh, we got $50. It's already spent because we're going to go out and eat kind of thing. And that is where I don't want you to be. I don't want you to live so tight that you are resentful, that you feel restricted, that you struggle and stress over your finances. Like that is not a fun place to be. And that is what survival mode is in your finances, right? So how do we get out of that? How do we stop being stressed over our finances? And how can our budget be the thing to do that for us, right? So that's what I'm going to share with you. I'm going to share with you 3 things, which I actually have a 4th thing, but it's kind of a caveat kind of thing. So we'll get into that when we get there. But I have 3 things that I want to share with you, 3 systems, 3 tips, whatever you want to call them, to help you get out of that financial survival mode and do it quickly. Okay, so the first thing that I want to share with you is I want you to find consistency. And consistency is found by setting up my bills system. So what I mean by consistency and why I'm specifically talking about the bills system instead of just being perfect in your categories and the things that you are wanting to do, right? Is your bill system is how you get out of your paycheck to paycheck method, or not method. It is a method, but it's how you get out of that paycheck to paycheck lifestyle because you're no longer living again in that feast or famine life cycle. You're able to see how much money you have every single paycheck and put the same amount, you don't have to change it up, towards bills, the same amount towards groceries, the same amount every single paycheck towards every single category that you have. No longer do you have to figure out, well, this paycheck, I get $50 to my name after I've paid bills. So how am I going to then next paycheck save up so that I can have money for groceries, so that I can have money for gas? Or how do I buy that all that week and then not have to worry about it the next week, and that $50 can be to whatever, right? It's less guesswork and it's more consistent numbers that you can work with every single paycheck and know where your money is going without going, okay, well, did I buy that last week or do I need to buy that this week? Which paycheck is going to have more money after the bills are paid and which one's going to have less? Like, it takes that question out of there. It takes the mind work out of there and makes it so much more simple, so much easier for you to implement, and just, it takes the stress out. You can just take a big, deep breath and just relax because you're like, okay, I know that every single paycheck, I have this much money that I'm going to put towards bills. I have this much money to put towards groceries. If I need to change it up, I know where I can take it from instead of having to play the guessing game, instead of having to really get into the mathematical side of things and figure out which paycheck is going to be able to cover it, or how you're going to be able to save up for it, or if you're going to have the diligence, that's not really the right word, but the ability to not spend the money you need for the next week, right? It takes all of that away and it makes it so much easier. Now, I'm not going to go into how to set up the bill system because I have episodes on that. So look in the show notes because I will link it in the show notes for you. But I just really want you to understand that by implementing the bill system, you are just creating a consistency that is like relieving. I remember when I first put this system in, not on purpose, I did it accidentally. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this has made, it's a game changer. It's made it so much easier for me to like manage my money because I can see what's going on since I'm splitting up my money every single paycheck, every single way, or the same way every single time. That is what is a game changer, and that is what's going to make it so that you're able to get out of that financial survival mode by getting out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle, getting out of that feast or famine, and stopping the thought, the deep thought, the overwhelming thought of where the money is going to come from for this particular thing that's come up, right? You're going to know where it can come from very simply, very easily when you implement the bill system. Now, the second system that I want you to implement or dive into is what I call my base budget. And this budget is going to help you create a budget where there's wiggle room instead of the budget that I created when I first became a one-income family. There is going to be wiggle room. You're going to be able to implement this budget and know that you're going to have money to grow. You're going to have money for when prices rise. You're going to have money for the things that you want to do, right? You're going to be able to look at your budget and say, oh, should I take that debt out or should I not take that debt out? You're going to be able to know how much debt you can take out without affecting everything else. And that is what this is like. That's where this is game changing, right? These tips, these strategies with this base budget is a total game changer because you then have the tool to make financial decisions without stressing over how it's going to affect things, right? You can sit down, you can look at the facts. It's not guessing. It's not, like just throwing numbers out there, throwing spaghetti at the wall. You have the facts. You know how much money you need for your base budget. You know how much extra income you have every single month that you can put towards your savings, that you can put towards whatever's coming in that is a bill that needs to maybe be taken care of. You have the capacity, you have the room to be able to see things and to look at the facts and make financial decisions. And maybe one of those financial decisions is that you need more income. And that is what this is for. This is the biggest thing. Like if you don't implement anything else, if you simply implement my bill system and my base budget, it is going to be a game changer for you. So the base budget allows you to know how much money you're working with, right? It allows you to know if you simply can cut costs or if you need more income, like I said. And you're not going to know unless you set up your budget. So setting up this budget, and again, I have an episode that I'm going to link below on how to generate your base budget income so that you can create your base budget. But setting up your base budget is simply figuring out what is the lowest amount I need to make it on one income. And then you set up your budget based off of that. Okay, I said something wrong a little bit ago, so let's rewind. You're not looking for the lowest amount you need. You're looking for the lowest amount that you bring in. So if you are like my husband, where he brings in overtime every single paycheck, well, then you're going to figure out how much he is supposed to make every single paycheck and base your budget off of that. Now, if you are somebody who's salary or somebody who gets the same amount every single paycheck and there's not really any overtime or anything like that, you're going to give yourself a percentage, right? And again, I go over this in so much more depth and detail in another episode that, again, I will link in the show notes. But it allows you to be able to create that margin, that imaginary margin, I guess you can say, in your budget so that you know that there is extra income, that there is going to be money remaining after you've paid your necessities. And even your base budget, it can still cover, and it probably will cover, your fund money. It will cover some of your savings. It will cover your debt, the things that you want to get paid off. But it will also give you wiggle room that comes after that you have to go back in and give it a job. You have to say, okay, well, I have maybe $300 after my base budget has been put into place. So where do I want that $300 to go? Am I going to pay down debt with it? Am I going to put it towards savings? Is there a bill that needs to be paid off? There's so many things that you can do with it, and you then have the choice to do whatever that is with it, right? And so these two systems together, because you're going to have consistency in your paychecks, like knowing that every single paycheck, a certain amount goes towards bills, a certain amount goes towards groceries and everything else in between. And then you're also going to be able to implement your base budget and see how much money you have that is remaining, that is left over, that is extra, whatever word you want to use there, right? It is going to allow you to see the fact. If you are living a salary earner and you know that you want to live maybe at 70% on your income so that the other 30% can go towards savings or whatever, what do you have to cut out of your budget for that? What do you have to do? Do you have to get more income? Do you not have to get more income? This budget is going to show you the fact, and it's going to tell you what needs to be done. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes seeing those numbers is like, oh, well, I need to make changes, and I didn't know this because I didn't have that tool before. Now you're going to have it, and you're going to be able to make strong financial decisions based off of fact. Okay, the next thing that I want to share with you, the next tip, is put money back into your budget. You knew this was coming, right? So essentially how you do that is you cut expenses. It could be your monthly spending. It could be fixed expenses. It could be even your debt. Maybe you have to get rid of a car payment or lower your car payment. Or maybe you need to downsize in your home because rents went up and you can't handle it, right? Maybe gas has gone up so much that now you need to figure out how you're going to go back and forth when you're just I don't know what to do, right? There are so many things, so many ideas, so many creative ways to get through these things. So I don't want you to stress over and think, oh my gosh, my rents went up. Now I have to cut or I get a smaller house. No, that I know is triggering, and it can bring on so much stress. Just talking about it, I can feel my chest tighten up. But when you are in financial survival mode, then you do have to make the hard decision, which sometimes does mean cutting out all the extra things and slowly adding them back in. That doesn't mean that you're not going to do them at all, but it does mean that for a period of time, so maybe for a month, you could do a no spend challenge and cut out all the extra spending. Even in your bills, maybe that means cutting out Netflix, or maybe you have 3 or 4 different TV subscriptions. Maybe you cut it back to just one, right? So that means that you're able to just see what you have. You're able to recalibrate, re-get your finances grouped together, figure out what's actually a priority, because that's another thing. Getting out of financial survival mode means that you have to really prioritize where your money's going. You can't just willy-nilly throw money at things and just say, oh yeah, I've got so much money, it's endless, I can do whatever I want. Unfortunately, when you live on one income, that's not possible. And so when you sit down, and maybe this is another tip I need to add in here, you really need to figure out what a priority is. And that is where you're going to really thrive. You're going to be able to say, no, I don't want this. And as I'm talking about this, I realized that last week I actually talked about a lot of this stuff in cutting your fixed expenses. So again, I will link that in the show notes so that in every single one of these systems, you can go and you can dive deeper into these areas and create an extremely strong system to get yourself out of that financial survival mode so that you can thrive, right? So find ways to put money back into your budget. Find ways to cut expenses. And I don't mean that you have to completely cut it and get rid of it, right? In the last episode, I talked about when I have Disney, and now it's actually Hulu doing it now. I noticed it the other day. But I had Disney for a moment, then I deleted it, I got rid of it. Now Disney and Hulu are trying to get me back, saying that I can have a bundle, get them both for like 3 months at $2.99 a month for those 3 months. All because I cut it off, right? And they just want me back so badly. So maybe that's a system that you implement. For like 3 months, you turn it on. For another 3 months, you turn it off. Or in the summer months, you don't have TV at all so that you can go outside and play and have fun. Or you go do fun activities outside of the house instead of stuck in the house, right? And so there's so many things that you can do, and that's just with the TV option. There are so many creative ways that you can cut expenses with your phone bill, with internet, with electric, gas, in all the areas that you have to have them. Trash, maybe water. I don't know because I don't have to pay for water. But there are so many things that you can do. You just got to sit down and be creative. Maybe to cut back on electricity, you don't have the TV in the months that you can go outside, because that's going to cut back like hours of TV usage, right? Or maybe you cut back on when the daylight is up, you don't have lights on, kind of thing. And you just got to play with it. You got to see what works. And it might just be pennies at first, but maybe you'll find more and more ways to use less electricity. And maybe gas at the time is less expensive than electricity. So you find ways to use gas, like cooking with propane outside on the grill, or those kind of options, right? So just be creative. Look for ways to save constantly. That is one thing that I want you to get from this podcast as well, is to constantly be looking for ways to save. And I don't mean to be cheap, because being cheap can most of the time also mean that you're going to have to buy more, and you're going to then be using more money instead of if you just got the more expensive thing, right? So I just want you to be creative, find ways to buy the same thing that's of quality, and then ways to also save money on those things, right? Look for sales, look for other people selling them, like on Facebook or eBay or Amazon. There's lots of options. It just takes a little more time and thought process. But when you get used to doing it and it becomes habit, it's going to get quicker. When you use that muscle gets stronger. You're able to do it with less thought, and you get better at it, right? So practice. Okay. So then the fourth thing that I want to touch on is, if your budget is telling you that you do need more income, don't get upset about that. Just find a way to do it. Find a side hustle. Find something that allows you to still be home with your kids. Does that mean that you have to build a business? No. If you want to, you could become like a virtual assistant. You could write copy for people. You could make graphics if you're good at design for people. There are so many options out there if you want to build your own business. But if you don't want to build your own business, if you don't want to dive into that because it sounds like a headache, there are ways that you can find like businesses out there to work for them for like 20 hours a week or something like that. You do need to look at things because sometimes it's specific, but you can find businesses looking for people to work online for them. Maybe you're into homeschooling, so maybe you look into your homeschool maybe curriculum that you're buying from, or there's some homeschool places like, say, Becca or JBU Press, that maybe you could become like a teacher for them, depending on what it is that your skill set is, right? There are so many options out there, things that you can do. You just have to look and you have to think about it. And If that's something that you would like me to maybe do an episode on, is some options for side hustles or work from home options, then reach out and let me know, and I will do an episode on that. But I do want to say something before I end this part about creating income. Is when I first got on this journey to create income, I got on the bandwagon of, if you build a business, you're going to have all of this money. Don't build a side hustle to become rich. Like, the get rich quick scheme is not a thing. Like, the people that do get rich quick, man, that is a tongue twister. The people that do get rich quick, they end up failing because they aren't able to sustain it, because they don't know what to do or how to sustain it, right? So the slow growth is better, for one, but it's also not about having all the money in the world, right? You just want a little bit of money on the side, simply to supplement the money that you need to make your budget not so tight, right? So that could be that you're getting $20 an hour and you're working 20 hours a week, which is like $400, and that's $400 a week, right? That can supplement a whole lot of money. Now, you do have to remember to pay taxes, right? But that is like 400 times 4 weeks is, what is that, 1,200? 1,600. Man, my math is not strong right now. That is like $1,600. So if you put like 600 of that away for taxes, you have $1,000 extra a month. That is plenty of wiggle room of like supplementation for your budget. And if you enjoy doing it, then keep doing it, but only do it until you have to, right? If you don't want to keep doing it, or you want to cut back, find the amount that you want, that you and your husband are comfortable with for a supplement, and call it good, right? That is what you need to be focusing on, not, ooh, how much money can I make quickly, right? Okay, so with that being said, I want to go over my 4 or 5, I guess, tips that I kind of went over. First one, set up the bill system. It is a game changer. Second, create your base budget. That's how you're going to know what needs to be done. Third, find ways to put money back into your budget. Cut expenses that are unnecessary, even if it is only for a season. Figure out your priorities, right? What is most important to you, so that when you do cut things out, you know the order to cut them out and the order to bring them back in when you are ready. 4, if you need to, if your budget is telling you to find a side hustle, you can find small, simple side hustles that are like creating something on Etsy. It could be digital, it could be a physical product, right? There are so many options out there that are not going to overwhelm you, that are not going to take up a whole bunch of time, that you're going to enjoy, and it's going to bring you in a little bit of supplemental income that you can then put into your budget and ease the stress, right? Okay, with that being said, if you would like to learn more about these systems, definitely reach out to me. If you want to hop on a budget audit, reach out to me, because then we can figure out where you're particularly struggling. Sometimes setting up that base budget can be a struggle by yourself. So if you would like another set of eyes, reach out to me. Let me help you out, because that is where I thrive. I love setting up these base budgets. I love helping you get your bill system set up. I like get giddy and excited whenever I get to do that for somebody. So if that is something that you would like to do, definitely send me an email. So that's MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL. That's mollybennell@gmail.com. Man, I said that backwards. But shoot me an email. Let me know that you're interested, that you would like some assistance in this area so that you can get out of financial survival mode. It is not fun to live there. Simply even just living the paycheck to paycheck cycle like that is such a headache to do. So If you would like to get out of that and to get into a system that is more stress relieving and it's simple, come over, send me an email, let's talk, and let's get it going for you, okay? So with that being said, I will see you right back here next week on another episode of the One Income Family Podcast. Before you go, I hope this episode has ignited a fire inside of you, and I pray that it creates long-lasting impact. Did you know that you too can impact other one-income families? All you have to do is leave a written review, and you help get the podcast in the hands of other mamas in need. You can also text this episode to that friend who is also knee-deep in the same kind of chaos as you and inspire them to make a change. Also, your review lets me know that you're enjoying the show, and that lights me up. I get so excited to hear from you. Another great way that we can connect, though, is through the One Income Family community over on Facebook. So after you're done leaving that 5-star review, head on over to the community where you will find other mamas working their way out of the chaos. You can ask your questions and connect with others who truly understand what you are going through. I cannot wait to connect with you in the community. Until then, I will see you right here next week on another episode of the One Income Family Podcast.